What is up? What is up? Welcome back to another episode of Talkative. I'm your host, Jason Martinez. We're back for another episode. This week it's episode 13, close to episode 20. Pretty exciting on that regard. And I just want to start off with one major announcement. Also, by the way, before I forget, hopefully you guys are doing good in this Wednesday afternoon. But yeah, back to the announcement. We are officially on Spotify. Yes, that's right. The Talkative Podcast is officially on Spotify. There's still a lot that I have to get done to fully have every single episode from episode 3 to the current episode now, unfortunately, because I could not upload episode 1 and 2 because the audio file size was too big for the standard, for the size that I had to upload on. So it's going to start with episode 3 to the current episode now, which would be this one. This episode will be recorded episode 13. So yes, we're officially on Spotify. I'm excited. Expanding on horizons, going from platform to platform. So it's going to be exciting times for the show overall. And yeah, just wanted to start off with that announcement. Again, I say it time and time again, but it's always a good thing to constantly remind yourself of the support that you have when it comes to having your own platform. If I sound like a broken record, bear with me, I apologize. But seriously, I thank each and every one of you for the countless support, all the support that I get on these episodes, whether it's through DMs, the minimal likes. Like I don't care about the numbers, frankly enough. I really don't give a crap about the numbers, but just seeing that the support is there is enough for me. So thank you guys once again. So this week is gonna be a fun episode. Strictly just wrestling episode this week because there is some things I want to discuss in regard to pro wrestling in general. And I figured this would be the best thing to start talking about, and that is the tragic passing of two-time WWE Hall of Famer Scott Hall. Scott Hall, former Intercontinental Champion, amazing wrestler, amazing person, goated legend. Unfortunately passed away 2 days ago due to, I think, surgery complications, hip complications, and he suffered 3 heart attacks. At that moment, Scott was already on life support, and the doctors, everyone that was around him, everyone that knew that he was, in bad condition said that he probably doesn't have much time left. So this happened on, I want to say Saturday he was already on life support, and no, Sunday, excuse me. And then the following night, the whole day, it seemed like he was doing pretty good. He was surviving, he was pulling through. And unfortunately, a couple hours later, during Monday Night Raw, he passed away. And like an hour before the show started, he died. So this hit me and pretty much the entire wrestling community hard because, like I said, Scott Hall probably was one of the most influential wrestlers in the WCW and WWE era when they were clashing. When WCW was the next biggest thing when it comes to wrestling promotions, he was the pioneer. I mean, he was the pioneer behind NWO, which, if you want to compare the NWO, you could kind of see it as as today's Bullet Club, right? Or vice versa. Actually, you know what? Screw that. Vice versa. Bullet Club was probably, in fact, inspired and took inspiration when it was first created back in 2013 because of the NWO. So they were the pioneers of a lot, factions-wise, promotion-wise, just having good rivalries, having good storylines. They pioneered everything. And one of those men who was a part of that foundation was Scott himself. I mean, the promos that he used to cut, all of his known catchphrases, hey, yo, Chico, all that stuff that, a old school pro wrestling fan loved from back in the day. He was the one. He was the one behind that, and just having him pass away really sucks. It really does. And it still hits. It still hits because he was only 63 years old. I mean, 63 to me is still very young in most cases, but you know, it's just it stinks. It really sucks because in the future, if WWE ever wants to do another NWO segment, um, with the members of the NWO, X-Pac, Kevin Nash, Hulk Hogan, th- they can do it, but it won't feel the same because Scott is no longer there with them. So it really does suck. I mean, again, from the matches he had in WCW, the feuds in WCW, the matches with um, I'm still, for one, I'm still relatively young. I am relatively young, so I don't really recall or know a lot that happened during WCW. But I'm trying to think. Well, one match that I could get out the way, one match that we can talk about for ages, was WWE's first ladder match, which was I think during SummerSlam of '99. I could be wrong, or if not earlier before that. The ladder match he had with Shawn Michaels. That match was probably one of the best matches they had in that feud, and just it's known for the infamous top of the ladder for splash from Shawn Michaels, and just seeing at the time Scott had his Razor Ramon gimmick or his Razor Ramon character, and just that match was really good. I mean, to this day, if you were to rewatch that match, you would be like, wow, like back in the day, wrestling was really something special. Just the chemistry, the drama, the moments, it was like no other. The wrestlers, the energy that they brought, all that type of stuff. And then you go on to WCW, which again, you're bringing all the NWO influence, all the feuds that Scott had in WCW, and it was just phenomenal. Scott was a really influencer. He was a pioneer of wrestling. So I just wanted to give my moment to give my condolences and talk a little bit on his legacy and just overall his career. Like I said, I can't really recall a lot of matches and moments from WCW because it's not something that I caught on pretty quick because when I started wrestling I was still relatively young. Maybe I should probably watch some more matches, some more old school matches, because old school pro wrestling is still great stuff to see. But yeah, may Scott Hall rest in peace. He will forever be in our little pro wrestling hearts, toothpick and all. Hey yo, we're here to take a little survey. All that famous stuff. They'll still be a part of us no matter what, even if it's here or not. So may Scott Hall rest in peace. Yeah, we got all the sad part out the way, but it really does sucks. And I mean, not for nothing. Eventually, all the legends that we're to seeing on TV when it comes to pro wrestling, they're all getting to that age. Where sooner or later, their time will come, and it sucks to see too, because when Scott first passed away, Triple H was one of the first people to speak out and speak on it, and he said, "I'll see you down the road," in the caption that he wrote on Instagram. And it's just, when you take a caption like that and you analyze it a bit to the point where you think, wow, Triple H is also getting to the point where he's getting older. He's past his prime. I mean, he still wrestled a lot of matches from like 2013 to 2020, but it's getting to that time, and God forbid we see the WWE post something like in remembrance of Triple H or Paul Levesque. It would suck, because as we know, Triple H is another GOAT of pro wrestling in general. So yeah, I mean, like I said, it sucks to see all of our childhood heroes go. I mean, I say childhood because I followed through. I looked up who the NWO were. I looked up what WCW was. Like I said, not completely familiar because we all grew up in different generations. I knew a lot of legends through different sources, whether it's through video games, YouTube videos. People send me videos of a legend that they used to watch when they were younger, like when they were my age. That's how I come to recognize a lot of the legends and really grew a strong liking for those people. And it's crazy because if you were to ask a 10-year-old today, a 10-year-old who's not, who was taught by, like, let's say a family member that was an old school wrestling fan, if you were to ask a 10-year-old who Jake the Snake Roberts was or who the Hardy Boys were, they would probably have no idea. So I'm honored, as a pro wrestling fan, I'm honored to have the opportunity to look stuff up, to have people who are old school wrestling fans text me and tell me, hey, you should watch this, you should watch this. This match was a classic, because I got to learn pretty much the origins and the long-term history of what pro wrestling, in particular WWE, was. So, it's always an honor. And like I said, there's still a lot that I don't know, probably a lot that I don't remember, because pro wrestling, there's been so many matches, so many feuds, so many good pay-per-view moments, so many storylines that it's kind of hard to remember. But yeah, I mean, Razor was just, it was a big loss for the pro wrestling community, much like the others. I mean, Ultimate Warrior, the Roddy Piper, China, all those wrestlers that passed away in the past, they all hit hard. But this one, I don't know, I feel like he was taken a little bit too soon. I feel like he still would have, if he would have got better, if he would have got off life support, he would have still been one of those cutting promos, cutting segments, maybe another Legends contract, who knows, or maybe a Legends contract. But, we would have had him here for a little bit more. It just would have been fun, either at meet and greets, conventions, whatever the case may be. If he just had a couple of years, a couple of more moments with his fans, the people that supported him, the entire wrestling community, it would have been great. But like I said, life goes on. I mean, life happens, We're here for a set amount of time, and during that time, we're supposed to enjoy it to the max. And I feel like him as a pro wrestler, I feel like that's exactly what he did. I mean, having moments with his longtime friends, people like Kevin Nash, X-Pac, everyone that was involved in WCW, Eric Bischoff, right? Whether it was scripted or not, whether it was straight storyline, for damn well he enjoyed every bit of it, no matter what. Taking the road with everyone, just having these matches, cutting these promos, connecting with the fans, that he was one of those people that really enjoyed what he did. Face or heel? I mean, Scott was pretty much a heel throughout his entire career. But even that, out of character, these wrestlers really enjoy what they do, So it's always a pleasure to have that opportunity. Nevertheless, Scott Hall, rest in peace. Too sweet to that. May you continue throwing toothpicks and cutting promos and having surveys and just being the pioneer of the NWO like you've always been. Rest in peace, Scott. But with that being said, we're going to transition to my overall review of WWE 2K22. Yes, our first major sim wrestling game since 2019. It's been 2.5 years since we've had a new game, and I have plenty enough to say about this game in general. Where do I start? The good, the bad, the ugly. I mean, let's start off with the good. The redesigned gameplay engine that 2K has, been advertising for months now, and talking on for months now, it delivers. It, quote unquote, hits different. No pun intended. It delivers. The gameplay feels a lot faster, feels a lot more fluid, doesn't feel robotic. or anything. But there is still some mishaps, there is still some imperfections, some glitches, the typical 2K stuff. Now, if you are a pro wrestling fan or a pro wrestling game fan, you would know that 2K is always known for the fun, quirky, weird glitches, and that's still persistent in this game. But nevertheless, the game is fun, the game feels fluid, the gameplay is just faster. There are some gripes that I do have with the gameplay mechanics in general, and that is with the R1. Well, they used to be paybacks, but now they're integrated as normal moves. So whenever you're on the ground and somebody's trying to go for a grapple or for just a standard move, you press R1 and you can either kick up, or just like the playing possum payback where you can just kick them off or do something sneaky. You can just do that freely by pressing R1 if your meter, if the 3 blue bars at the bottom are full, or if you have enough bars to do a move on, you can just do that. I feel like this is very repetitive and easy to do, and it makes the match feel too arcadey, to the point where it doesn't even feel like your moves are not having enough impact, or the other wrestler can't stay down for at least 5 to 10 seconds because they immediately resort to the kickoff. And it's kind of frustrating because let's say you're hitting this combo where you hit this big move, and they just quote unquote no-selling it. They no-sell it by hitting R1 and kicking up immediately. I feel like there should be a limitation when it comes to that overall mechanic. To me, I feel like it should just be you can hit it once per match or twice per match, and once you hit it, it's done for. Like you can't do it again for the whole match, because it kind of makes it unbalanced in that gameplay perspective, because the gameplay is already fast as it is. The combos feel amazing. The grappling feels, more to your own control, because you could decide if you want to do heavy attacks, medium attacks from the grapple ignition. By pressing circle, you're immediately in this grapple position from where you can input those other 2 buttons. But I feel like 2K should have a limitation when it comes to that mechanic, because it kind of makes the game feel a little too unrealistic and too arcadey, and less rewarding and more degrading when you're hitting like a powerbomb off the top rope through a table and then somebody just no-sells it. Yeah, no-selling moments are funny, they're cool and all, but to do it every single time, it could get frustrating. But nevertheless, that's like one of the main gripes. Another gripes that I do have with the gameplay, I'm just listing minimal gripes. This is not me listing the whole negative of the game. I mean, this could be considered a negative. Hopefully it could get fixed or just changed up in the future. Knowing 2K's reputation when it comes to patches and updates, who knows, I mean, we can only hope for the best, but we can't keep our hopes up. But at the same time, I hope this can be added in or integrated in, because the kickout system, I don't know. I don't know why they completely took away the skill check, even though the skill check is in the game, yes, but once you enable the skill check, you can only hit the skill check offline. During offline modes, you can't really hit the skill check online because it's not an available option. So online, you have to spam X in order to kick out, and I feel like, for somebody like me who's not much good of a spammer, I'll take responsibility of that. I'll take accountability of that. I'm not a good spammer, and I get it. I've seen people on comment sections say, "Oh, if you can't match one button, then it says more about your skill, not much the pinning system." And yeah, whatever. That's your own damn opinion. If other fans who are playing the game cannot spam a button as fast as you, who cares? At the same time, there is still some reasoning as to why this kickout system is, to some degree, very unfair and just BS, because we already have to spam a mixture of buttons for the submission system, because the submission system is practically the same thing. We're spamming buttons, and you expect us to spam every time we get pinned so that we can kick out. It's very inconsistent and just very just first of all, it's very frustrating because I don't really want to spam a button every time I kick out, put all my force and all my effort spamming this one button. And to my experience, it doesn't matter how quick you're spamming the button, dude. You can't get that circle filled up in time for you to kick out. Doesn't matter how quick you're spamming it. But to a degree, it depends on what move you got hit with and what state you were in during the match. If you get hit with a finisher and you were either stunned or you have like little red screen effect in the corners of your screen, that means that you got hit pretty hard because of the finisher, and that the kick out automatically, the kicking out system and the kicking out mechanic is going to be very hard to do. And yes, I understand that, but at the same time, 2K, please bring it back the skill check online, because the skill check, again, it was a system that we were used to, and that's a common trend when it comes to the controls of this game, which I'll get to in a second. The controls changed completely for those who used to play 2K games in the past. But yeah, why change something that we were so accustomed to something that's literally a lot more sophisticated? It's straightforward. You mash a button, but at the same time, like I said, it doesn't matter how fast you are pressing buttons or how fast you are mashing buttons, it still makes it difficult to kick out. So, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm glad that they added it in general. I'm happy. And they did make the count time for the referee a lot faster. But just adding the skill check to online, it would help out a lot of people who are not good at button mashing, or who would prefer the skill check for online matches. But yeah, those are minor gripes that I have with the gameplay. Overall, I love the combo system. You can do combos this year, so the striking in general feels more revamped. To strike in this game, I'm just gonna mix in some control talk here in a bit. To strike in this game, it's square and X, which in the past X was the main input for grappling, but they changed it up this year. I've been playing the game since I got it on Saturday. That's all I've been playing really, because undoubtedly the game is fun. Even with all the BS glitches and the BS limitations because I'll say that there's a lot of limitations in this game, but we'll get to that in a second. The game is fun. Like overall, my broad opinion, it's a really fun game. So yeah, but X is considered a heavy strike for this game. So you can combo that with some square strikes as well. And just doing these combos feels so rewarding, so satisfying whenever you hit a combo this game. I'm with it. I'm with the combo system. Another aspect of the gameplay, breakers and reversals. Reversals this year is triangles, just like in 2K20. The timing is very difficult. I've come to find that the timing for these reversals is extremely tight. But it's not like it's difficult. It's not like we have to press multiple buttons to do reversals, like finishers and signatures. Which, oh my god! To be honest, I've gotten used to it. But why do we have to press R2 and X for a finisher? Either way, the reversals feel normal. They feel fine. But the reversal breakers, again, it's another thing that makes the whole reversing aspect of the gameplay here in this game a little bit difficult, because the breakers are also extremely hard at the time, because you just don't know when the reversal could pop up or exactly what your opponent is hitting, and the timing window is extremely tight, like I said, even with the overall reversals. But nevertheless, combos are good. Combo breakers are awesome as well if you ever get a chance to hit them during a match. It pretty much is like a counter. That's pretty much what a breaker is. When you're talking like standard fighting game controls instead of standard fighting game mechanics, a breaker is pretty much a counter. That's the thing too. A lot of people compare this game to like what a fighting game was. To a degree, yes, because you can actually dodge and block in this game. Yes, you can dodge and block. Which, by the way, the dodge is extremely significant, especially if you create custom characters and you make your custom characters a cruiserweight. The dodge is really, to be honest, the cruiserweight dodge, which usually for light heavyweights and heavyweights, you just like you shift to the side, to either to the left or to the right, depending on what direction you choose. But the cruiserweights, they actually do like a roll. They roll to the side and they roll either left or right. They do an actual roll, like a cruiserweight roll. And I'm telling you, this dodges grapples, this dodges running strikes. It's really OP. I've been in the receiving end of a dodge and then a grapple right afterwards, and it's crazy. It's crazy to deal with, but I mean it's cool. It creates a more exciting dynamic to these matches. So dodging and blocking. Blocking is really good too because you can just straight up block either kicks or punches and hit square immediately right after to counter attack it. So yeah, like these little fighting game elements, they're fun. They're fun. I will say that they add a new feel to what a standard sim game is. I mean, there's no chain wrestling mechanic in this game. It's just collar and elbow tie up, and then from there you go to grappling. Some people may debate on this, and they may argue with this and say that this isn't realistic. And with the chain wrestling, it actually felt like a pro wrestling match. And to a degree, yes, I actually really appreciated the chain wrestling because it added more to the realism. But I guess 2K wanted to break out of that. 2K wanted this game to feel more arcadey to tender the arcade fans, and to be honest, I don't mind it. I don't mind it because I started back in the WWE 12. And WWE 12 up until WWE 13 was all pretty much arcade. You had no chain wrestling. It was just collar and elbow tie up, initiation, and then from there you go to strikes to grapples. So I kind of know what it is to have that arcade feel when it comes to these sim wrestling games. But yes, I do miss the chain wrestling because it added a more realistic feel to the game overall. And you could create some very, two real life pro wrestling moments with the chain wrestling mechanic. But I mean, nevertheless, I feel like them taking away that mechanic, they were able to add things like the dodge or combos, combo breakers, and just make the gameplay feel better, faster. Because that is one thing I'll say about 2K15 to 2K20 was that the game felt significantly slower, like really slower. There were times where if you knew what you were doing, if you know how to do spots, set up spots, have good moments with like you and a buddy, whatever. If you guys knew how a pro wrestling match works and how you can replicate that to the game, yes, there are moments where the game feels more active, more crazy, more just faster overall. But the overall speed of the game felt slow for those games compared to this. So yes, a change of speed definitely is a plus for these games. But yeah, I mean that's the overall gameplay aspects. You have the combos, the gameplay feels faster. There's apparently over 4,000 new animations. I've gotten to see a good chunk of them, but I feel like not all of them. But gameplay, to be honest, to me, is a 10 out of 10. Moving on to overall looks and appearance of the game. This probably has to be one of the best looking WWE 2K games of all time. This game looks almost damn near perfect graphically. Every character model, besides a few things I will consider. Hair physics, 2K. It's been more than 10 years, man. How come we don't got the hair physics snap pack? These hairs with these characters and these wrestlers are still looking like plastic. But anyways, yeah, the hair physics still need to get some work done. But overall, I mean, the faces, the bodies, the dimensions of these wrestlers, the sweat. I mean, if you have a match for more than 30 minutes, if a match drags on for a while, you begin to see sweat coming down from your wrestler, and that looks realistic as heck. Yeah, this game, the championships. I was shocked when I first saw the WWE Championship like in game, and how poppy it was. Like it just popped out of the screen. Everything was so visible. The logo, the diamonds, the side plates, the overall strap, the material. You can literally see everything from the title now. And the titles look really good. Yeah, this game, especially on next gen, this game looks phenomenal. Looks damn near too realistic, too perfect, and that's always a plus. I'm not one though who, and this is a segue to the next topic of my review for 2K22. Graphics for me is not a make or break, and I feel like for a lot of people, graphics, graphics is not a make or break when it comes to buying games. What really is a make or break is the experience and content. If a game doesn't have content, for years on end and for the rest of its lifespan to keep the game alive and keep players engaged and playing, then at that point the game doesn't have much time left. And I feel like content is a big one here, and overall performance. I feel like these two correlate. Game performance and the amount of content definitely correlates because there's a lot. So I guess from here we're going to be moving on to the bad. And the bad is overall performance. I mean, 2K20, as if any of you who are listening to this, if you've played these games, you know that 2K20 was probably one of the worst games in the franchise, full of glitches, full of game breaking bugs, little to no content, small roster. It was just a bad game, and part of the reasoning for that is because one of the main lead developers in Ukes, who have been developing these games along with 2K for the longest times, they left back in 2019. Mid development, 2K20 was being developed. So at that point, 2K had to pretty much build the game from the ground up, build the game with all the assets that they had, all the knowledge and experience that they had, and they delivered a piece of trash that 2K20 was. So from there came 2K22. And 2K22, as much as I hate to say it, 2K22 pretty much follows up or carries on with what they had for 2K20. So some of the mechanics, some of the additions, and some of the trends that 2K had in 2K20 now exist in 2K22. And one of those things is performance. I feel like a lot of people have been reporting crashes. They can't access certain modes. They've been losing data because also community creation issues. If you have more than 90 things downloaded, I think the game will automatically delete them, and just going on community creations just crashes the game as a whole. Universe mode is literally unplayable for a lot of people. I haven't touched universe mode from what I've seen. Every time you go on universe mode, the game just crashes. So performance, not the best as of now. Online servers are not perfect. I mean, 2K's always had an issue with online servers, to be honest. It's not the best. It's this is the bad section of the review. The servers are bad. I wouldn't say bad because I've been playing a lot of online games. The servers aren't really in a great spot. Performance, a lot of people have been getting gameplay crashes and everything. But this isn't everybody, of course. But it just sucks that because 2K had to build 2K22 with what was left of 2K20, I feel like some of that translated into the development of 2K22, and now we have some of the bad that 2K20 left, which is with overall game performance, because a lot of people are experiencing crashes, bad luck with servers, game modes not being playable, and it sucks that the game is performing like this. But for me personally, I've only had a handful of crashes. Servers have been back and forth. There's days where we have over like 10 matches online, and there's times where we can't even load into the lobbies, that the servers are reportedly down. So, the bad in this case would be overall performance, online servers, online connectivity, and all that mixed together. So now, for that, I would give it a solid 5.5, if not a 6. Hopefully, 2K can, put in the effort and put in the will to release patches to fix these concurrent issues. But like I said, and this is not to put blame onto the developers. I really don't appreciate people who immediately go after developers for issues that a certain game has, because undoubtedly it's not their fault. They're just there to code and program whatever the higher ups, creative directors, managers, CEOs, whatever they think is best for the game and best for the business. They program what they want. They're the programmers, they're the developers. We can't really bash on the developer for them just doing their job. The ones to blame if we were to get mad in certain situations for a game's development is the higher ups, is how they're ordering things around, or how the decisions that they're making. But the overall developer shouldn't be blamed for the issues that the game has, or lack of content. So this is the ugly for me. The ugly now, honestly, mixing the bad with the ugly, because performance issues is never a fun thing to deal with. The ugly for this game is overall content. So now, GM mode, right? GM mode has been anticipated for so long. We've never had GM mode since SmackDown vs. Raw, and it's been over 10 years. Personally, for me, this is my first time ever playing a mode like GM mode. But man, is the mode limited. You can only have up to 2 championships, which are the main women's title and the main men's title for your particular brand. Every match card that you book is limited to 3 matches and 2 promos. On weekly shows, pay-per-views, it's 4 matches and 3 promos, I think. And there's no online, and there's no other match participant numbers. You can only do 1v1s and 2v2s. And also, I feel like the way that this mode works, like the algorithm, the system, is kind of BS, because you can't just freely book your own rivalries or book the matches that you want to book, because they cannot perform as well, because this mode is very driven by statistics, mechanics, numbers, and challenges and objectives that you have to complete. If you don't meet these objectives, or if you don't do what the mode tells you to do, your match rating is depicted by that. So I've been playing GM mode, but okay, to be fair, the mode is fun with the right person, because I've been playing GM mode with one of my great friends, and I've been having a blast. It's really fun to spectate. Let me just say this. I don't know what they did to the AI this year. The AI plays like crazy, especially on legend difficulty. So it's really fun to watch. It's actually fun to spectate your GM mode matches, because the AI actually plays pretty solid, and it makes the matches feel more intense. But yeah, I just feel like this mode is way too limited, and they definitely under-delivered on that regard. A lot of people see it as a base, a good start, a good foundation when it comes to the mode, and yes, I can agree with that. It's a good start, and hopefully, like I said, we can only hope, especially with this company. Hopefully, 2K will build upon that and keep building through that, and add in what we really want to this mode, which is just more freedom and less restriction. Immediately I begin to wonder, why couldn't they just combine the assets that Universe Mode has, because Universe Mode is another thing, unchanged by the way. Nothing was added to Universe Mode other than the Superstar Mode, which pretty much you can follow through one Superstar's path of the mode and nobody else. You're just following that one Superstar, which okay, whatever. I mean, I've heard people say that it's not the greatest thing in the world, but yeah, there's that. But nevertheless, going back to Universe Mode and combining assets of GM mode together. Just make it one big mode. Because if you have the overall aspects of GM mode, which are pretty cool. You have your match cards, your show logistics, your ratings. You can sign free agents. You can sign legends. You can manage your roster. Whatever the case may be, you could release people. If you could just have these overall mechanics and these overall things in GM mode, and just combine it with the promo system of universe mode. Um, More match freedom with universe mode, the bigger match cards, right? Because in universe mode, you could book up to 6 matches, I think, on a weekly show, and 8 matches on the pay per view. So you get what I mean? I feel like 2K could really just have the ability to do that, and I don't know why they've never really considered that. Just combine assets from a mode that you already have. That's in a way you're managing your own show, but not from a general manager's perspective, not with revenues and logistics and advertising, whatever the case may be. Just combine that with what GM has right now, and you will literally have the perfect mode. But that's just, me and other people's take. I always say I'm not a game developer myself. I don't know what goes on a technical basis. You know, I don't know how difficult it would be to import assets of one mode to another, or just taking something from what you already built, what you already have, transferring it to another part of your game. It's probably really technical in that regards. But using my common sense and my overall critical thinking, I feel like it could be possible. They can pretty much make universe and GM mode into this one big mode that a lot of people can appreciate and love. But yeah, I mean, for what the mode is, it's pretty fun. If you're playing locally, because unfortunately there's no online in this mode at all. Which, again, bummer, sucks, but hopefully in the future, with future installments. But that's another thing that makes this really disappointing, is that the future, how long do we have to wait for another installment? Because I hope it's best that 2K keeps up with this development trend with 2.5 years, because releasing these games on a yearly basis, we all know that doing this on a yearly basis is not good, because either you're lacking ideas, or you have nothing to build upon or just expand on, or just performance-wise, the game just gets worse and worse progressively, because you're rushing these games and you're not taking the time to polish them because you're releasing them on a yearly basis. If 2K is smart, they would keep going with 2.5 years of development cycles for every game going forward, and take the time that they need to make every wrestling game of the franchise as polished as possible. So we shall see what happens. But yeah, I mean, that's a big bummer. Also, a few other things for the ugly. For me, since I take the creative part of these games seriously, I like to create calls, create my own movesets, download custom arenas, go on community creations, and see what the wonderful creators can create for the rest of the entire community. There is no advanced creation entrances, and this is something that is a big hit to us who like to create calls and our own custom characters and make our own entrance. An advanced creation entrance, or advanced entrance creations, pretty much you can combine motions, lighting settings from multiple superstars or whatever is available as default, and pretty much make your own perfect entrance by adjusting the lighting, when you want lighting to happen, when you want power to come up. Is pretty much like a more in-depth creation system when it comes to the entrances for your custom characters, your custom superstars. And that's not in the game anymore, because reportedly it was one of the main problems that caused a lot of lag and crashing for 2K20, so 2K had to remove it. Bummer. Hope we can get patched in again, because using these generic or superstar motions and entrance assets, it's boring and it's dull. Not only that, I mean, you can't even have entrances online at the moment. Now, people have told me, friends have told me that it's going to get patched in, because the option is available, but you can't even have entrances online. So even if you're creating a basic entrance with generic elements, you can't even see it because entrances are not available online. So entrances along with custom arenas, you can't even use custom arenas online, but the option is there. So I hope that in the coming months, going on to April, May, June, and the summer, these things can start to get patched in because these are essentials when it comes to these games, man. Creatively, people who like to do call, create their own custom logos. We need to have these options to use these things online because everyone plays online, not just offline plays. So it just sucks that these features that have been in these games for so long are either gone from the game completely or we're forced to just not be at the game at launch and have to be patched in later on. So yeah, advanced entrance creations are not in the game at the moment. You can't even use custom entrances online with the assets that we have, and you can't even use custom arenas online. So it sucks. It really does, especially for someone like me who, I've already downloaded custom AEW Dynamite and AEW Rampage arenas, and I want to be able to use these online with my friends and play online with my friends using these arenas, but we're restricted even to that. So, it is what it is. 2K just better take the smart approach and patch these things in sooner rather than later, because nobody's going to go into wait 2.5 years for features that should already be in this game to be patched in later on. But nevertheless, there's a lot in this ugly category, unfortunately, but let me just say this. There's a lot of bad and there's a lot of ugly. At least we can say that this game was or is a step in the right direction for 2K and the rest of the 2K franchise when it comes to the wrestling game department. It's definitely a step in the right direction, and I hope 2K can keep it up because, like I said, the game feels phenomenal. The roster is really huge. It's just overall, it feels great. It's fun to play, nevertheless, even with all the game-breaking glitches or the glitches that you get in matches all the time. It's a fun game to play, and that's why overall, before I continue with my overall review, which I'm almost done, and we're gonna wrap up here pretty soon. I give it a solid 8. Nothing more, nothing less. Solid 8 out of 10. It's not the best game. It's not a perfect wrestling game, but it's definitely a step in the right direction for this company and its franchise. And it's a good game. It's a fun game, nevertheless, even with the restrictions. Although we can't just ignore these restrictions, sugarcoat them, and pretend that these restrictions aren't a problem. They are. They really are. But either way, the game is fun to play. So, another aspect of the ugly is definitely the lack of match types. Now, when I first found out that 2K never added a brand new match type to the game, I was bummed out. I was like, how could it be two and a half years, and you don't even have war games or a returning match type like Inferno match, or even I Quit match, right? So it's kind of unfortunate that we're kind of just stuck at the same match types like before, and nothing was added in. So that's another part of the ugly. And overall, like I said, the game isn't perfect. The game isn't perfect, and there's a lot missing. There's a lot of limitations, but at the same time, it's a good game and it's a good foundation for a lot of big changes and big things to come. So overall, that's my overall review, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and my overall rating of 2K22. Again, as a person who's been playing these games for so long, we can't just ignore or sugarcoat the typical stuff. Game crashing, performance issues, game glitches, whatever the case may be. I know that these exist, and I don't really get fazed by these because to a degree I kind of get used to it, but it is frustrating still, nevertheless. But either way, 2K22 is a fun game. 2K, if you can keep it up in this direction, keep it going, because this game is fun, and I hope you guys don't fold the bag, don't fumble the bag, because there's still a lot that you guys should implement, should consider, and should and need to fix to make this game really good and meets standards for a lot of wrestling fans. Would I recommend it? I mean, yes, but it really just depends on you. Like, do you want to wait for this game to have any further updates, or do you believe personally that this game is still the same broken mess as before? Everyone's gonna have a different opinion, but yes, if you're a wrestling fan, especially the old school wrestling games, and you're a fan of that old school feel, I would definitely pick up 2K22 for myself. But to each their own. Everyone's gonna have their opinion. Everyone's gonna have their preference, and I truly respect that, and I get that because trust me, the BS that these games have sometimes it's intolerable, and you can't just defend it all the time. So no, that's for me. It's a neutral opinion. Yes, I would pick this game up because it's a fun game, but if you'd rather save the money, if you'd rather wait for the game to go on sale, then do that. To each their own. Nevertheless, that is it for this week's episode, a more pro wrestling episode. I like to have these episodes because I feel like pro wrestling is another big passion of mine, whether it's through a digital world or real life. So having these episodes are really fun, and if you guys are pro wrestling fans, let me know in the comments. Let me know who your current favorite WWE wrestler is. And yeah, let's just, if you're running into this podcast, and you're running into this episode, let's have a talk in the comments, a civilized talk. Because I know how toxic and how controversial wrestling debates can be. But nevertheless, let me know if you guys are wrestling fans. That'll be it for this week. We'll be back next week for more. Hopefully you guys have a good weekend. See you guys next week for more. You guys take care. I'll leave you guys with the disability fact of the episode. Again, we're trying something different with graphics. Instead of me just saying the episode, I'm gonna have it on the screen at the end of each episode instead, just for aesthetics. And maybe if you guys rather read the fact than just hear me say it, let me know if you're a fan of that. So yeah, have a good weekend, and we'll see you guys next week. Take care.